Hello, my name is Jose Ramon Delgado, and today I will talk about the rescue of the data on marine biodiversity in Venezuela, a project that has rescued not only data but much more, as you will see. I am an oceanographer, actually acting as director for Fundación CaribeSur, a Venezuelan non-profit NGO working to support outreach activities related to marine sciences and conservation policies in Venezuela and the Caribbean region. As our motto says, in the ocean, we all live downstream of somebody else, and all of us under the same sky. Just a quick reminder, Venezuela is located in the north of South America, facing the Caribbean Sea on the north and the Atlantic Ocean on the east. Since 1958, different institutions and several generations of researchers and students have collected marine biodiversity data. This data has been stored in physical form, journals, articles, theses, scientific reports, and other publications. Unfortunately, during the last decade, my country has been suffering the loss of universities and research institutions' physical spaces. This has worsened over the past 5 years, where institutional buildings have been repeatedly vandalized, with hundreds of records, specimens, and historical data stolen, destroyed, or burned. As a result, Venezuela's marine sciences sector is facing an emergency where storing biodiversity data in a digital format is highly necessary. In 2014, the Venezuelan government decided not to renew a concession granted to the Fundación Científica Los Roques, which led to the demolishing of the Dos Mosquitos Cay Marine Biology Station, located in the Los Roques National Park, bringing to a halt its continuous research activities since its creation in 1964. In 2020, the Universidad de Oriente's campus in Cumaná was raided, looted, and burned as a result of an unclear political driving force. As a result, the Universidad de Oriente's Central Library in Cumaná was burned, and the Oceanographic Institute was also vandalized. Its offices ransacked and burned, as well as its library. CaribeSur started this project as an initiative to rescue the books of the Oceanographic Institute, right in the middle of a gas shortage crisis, where maybe 40 to 50% of the books were rescued and are now safely stored in a borrowed warehouse. This rescue initiative evolved, and seeking to avoid the loss of irreplaceable data, CaribeSur designed and promoted the rescue of Venezuela's marine biodiversity knowledge base as an emergency measure to avoid losing more information, with emphasis on marine protected areas, as well as to fill gaps in the distribution and status of marine biodiversity. In 2021, this project received funding for data digitization, data publishing, and capacity building, thanks to the co-sponsoring of the European Union BID program, Biodiversity Information for Development, through the Global Biodiversity Information Facility, the GBIF. The project objectives were to safeguard the greatest amount of information on marine biodiversity produced in the country, to train and promote the use of open access data systems on marine biodiversity, and to integrate national researchers and students into the community of contributors and users of georeferenced biodiversity data. An important outcome for the project was to create a skilled data rescue team. CaribeSur played a decisive role in the creation of a grassroots team of 14 researchers initially, that has now grown to 20, from the most important national universities, research institutions, and NGOs working with marine sciences in Venezuela, who received training in biodiversity data standards and formatting, with the support of the OBIS Caribbean node. Setbacks? Yes, we had. Apart from Venezuela's humanitarian crisis, hunger, low salaries, poor public services and social welfare, the loss of institutional spaces, talent drain, career abandonment, and the pandemic, when we lost 2 colleagues to COVID, Professors Bauma Marin and Carlos Rivero Blanco. The most important obstacle to the training program was the internet connectivity problems and the lack of up-to-date equipment and tools national researchers actually have access to. As a first step, capacity building was delivered through an OBIS training course via the Ocean Teacher Global Academy e-learning platform, also by a series of consecutive training meetings organized by CaribeSur and supported by Caribbean OBIS Node team, all available at CaribeSur's YouTube channel. 42,170 records in 67 datasets. This figure almost doubles the number of records that previously existed in OBIS for Venezuela before the start of the project. 98 physical documents like theses and all national publications were also digitized, and while some of these documents are available through national open access repositories, others are now in the process of to be shared through Aquadocs, the UNESCO IOC open access repository. Furthermore, a set of short videos have been produced and are available through CaribeSur's YouTube channel. This is an important outcome of the project as it meets one of the objectives of our organization, traducing scientific knowledge to the general public. An interesting outcome is the production of a data paper through the collaborative work of the 14 researchers initially involved in the project. It has been published in the Biodiversity Data Journal, describing the marine biodiversity data that is now available through the open access platforms OBIS and GBIF. The occurrence data collection contains more than 3,000 marine species, including records of non-native species, description of new species, and species listed on the different IUCN categories. Some figures worth mentioning about the project outcomes. 28.49% contribution to the records of the Venezuelan marine biodiversity reported to OBIS. 3,041 marine species, Animalia, Chromista, Bacteria, Plantae, Fungi, and Protozoa. The number of records for Venezuela increased by 41.3% compared with the data available before the project. Most of the occurrences, 63.47%, were registered in marine protected areas. Some historical data was rescued, but there is more historical data that needs to be preserved. The rescued data provided information on occurrences since 1822, extending the temporal coverage of the species occurrence inventory for Venezuela, which was established in 1879 before this project.
Me he especializado en los últimos años en temas que tienen que ver con informática de la biodiversidad, básicamente en gestión de datos y calidad. Allí he tenido la posibilidad de trabajar con la Infraestructura Mundial de Datos sobre Biodiversidad GBIF, la cual en 2020 lanzó una convocatoria en el marco de los proyectos BID, que son los proyectos financiados por la Unión Europea, y dentro de esta convocatoria se seleccionaron 18 proyectos, uno de los cuales fue ganadora la Fundación CaribeSur.
Para la Fundación es un privilegio estar coordinando el proyecto Rescate de la Data sobre Biodiversidad Marina en Venezuela, donde están participando 15 investigadores venezolanos que han conformado un grupo interinstitucional mediante el cual se ha logrado digitalizar 40.000 registros nuevos de biodiversidad marina.
El proyecto de rescate de la biodiversidad marina de Venezuela ha logrado recopilar una enorme cantidad de información sobre la biodiversidad de Venezuela y del Caribe, que es un enorme aporte a la ciencia. Pero además de eso, creo que hemos rescatado el espíritu de los investigadores que participaron en este proyecto, de excelente capacidad profesional, que trabajaron en equipo de manera conjunta para producir este material.
Las especies no saben de fronteras geográficas, entonces es importante, si nosotros queremos saber en qué estado está un grupo de especies, una especie en específico, el tener esta información gratuita y disponible facilita la colaboración, pero sobre todo ayuda a obtener información que es útil para tomar decisiones, para desarrollo de políticas transnacionales y nacionales, así como nuevos proyectos de investigación, nuevas preguntas, nuevas hipótesis.
¿Por qué es importante tener acceso a datos de biodiversidad marina de forma agregada e integral? Bueno, básicamente la disponibilidad de información de biodiversidad es fundamental para la toma de decisiones en aquellas personas que son responsables en el manejo de las áreas naturales y en general de las áreas marinas, no solamente de nuestro país, sino del mundo, ¿no? El hecho de conocer exactamente qué es lo que hay en cada una de estas áreas, en términos de la composición de la comunidad, gracias a un análisis detallado de la taxonomía de los registros que están allí representados, permite a estos tomadores de decisiones pues entender qué es lo que está en el ambiente y así entonces tomar las acciones necesarias para conservar la biodiversidad marina.
La Fundación CaribeSur ha hecho un importante trabajo para rescatar toda la diversidad biótica marina presente en Venezuela a través de más de 42.000 registros de especies y 67 conjuntos de datos que ya están disponibles en este momento en el portal de datos de GBIF.
Para los científicos también es muy importante disponer de esta cantidad de datos de biodiversidad porque en ellos se basan muchos de los modelos de biodiversidad. Se quiere, por ejemplo, entender cómo la biodiversidad está cambiando con el cambio climático, cuáles son los rangos de distribución de las especies, cómo las especies invasoras están apareciendo en determinadas áreas.
De esta manera, esos datos están disponibles en plataformas globales como el OBIS, que es Ocean Biodiversity Information System, y el Global Biodiversity Information Facility, el GBIF, que es quien está copatrocinando este proyecto.
Estoy muy contento por el resultado obtenido, un trabajo bastante importante y de la mano del nodo de OBIS Caribe, que ha sido articulador en todos los temas de consolidar e integrar esta información, que es el trabajo arduo de parte de investigadores y organizaciones nacionales.
Creo que este tipo de proyectos podría estimular y mantener ese interés y podíamos mostrarle al mundo, así como hicimos con la base de datos de biodiversidad marina, muchísima información valiosa sobre el medio ambiente en Venezuela.
Even though the rescue project managed to digitize a significant amount of biodiversity records, there's a great deal of biodiversity data that is not in a digital format, especially old data, which is critical to rescue. The CaribeSur team has identified an inventory of available data stored in 19 institutions, so there's still much work to do. As for the recommendation, the obvious: more funding projects are needed to mobilize at-risk data in less developed countries. And last but not least, explore alternatives that allow the direct participation of organizations to fill the information gaps that are usually found in countries where there is little institutionalism or interest on behalf of their governments. Thank you to CaribeSur's interdisciplinary team and all of the researchers and students involved. This slide summarizes CaribeSur's rescue project. A final word: you're not dead if you keep fighting, said the sardine while swimming inside the whale's maw. Please follow us in our social media at CaribeSur.org. In the ocean, we all live downstream of somebody else and all of us under the same sky. Thanks for watching.